Hi, Mary.
Hi, Kelly. Hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you too. Your hair looks pretty like that.
Thank you. I'm going back blonde for a while.
Yeah, it looks nice. It looks longer,
Yeah.
significantly longer. Yeah. Yeah, than you've had for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Thank you.
All right.
Hey, Tamaris.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Eh. I'm up in Detroit at my parents' house. My dad's been really sick for
Oh, no.
several weeks and he wouldn't go to the hospital, so I was summoned to come and be the hubby. And finally this afternoon he agreed to go. So my mom's up there now and we're just waiting to hear how things are going. But we think he has congestive heart failure. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
we'll see. But my
Yeah.
husband has that and my grandma has that, so it's not something that freaks me out totally. We just
Yeah.
want him to go get, if that's what it is, he obviously has to go to the doctor. He can't just
For
ignore
sure.
that. So,
For sure.
yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Kelly, I like the new hair.
Ah, thank you. I'm going back blonde.
Awesome.
Mayor, did you say that was a bad hair day? I missed part of that.
I
Yeah.
said it looks awesome. I like her new hair. I hardly have a voice tonight, so this is going to be a rough time, anyways, as you can tell. The coaching and all the traveling and the no sleep for the last couple of weeks has caught up to me now. So. Alan, was your punch key day as good as you hoped with all of the snow?
Yeah, we were down about 25%, which is good compared to, I was thinking more like 35 to 40%. So the morning, you just can't get that back once you lose the early morning stuff. But people came out as the day went on, so it wasn't as bad as I thought. But we cut it back. Nate cut production way back the night before too. So stayed down labor there and stuff like that. So the bigger issue was I had 3 employees that couldn't come in because they were snowed in. So that was the but we made it through it.
I did my part and ate 3.
3. Oh, okay. All right. Good deal.
Thank you for eating mine, Greg. I appreciate you.
You must still be feeling terrible.
Yes.
You got to make
Bad, Greg.
gluten-free ones, Alan. I can't eat them.
Oh, gluten-free?
I have to eat gluten-free, so I can't eat them now.
We get a lot of people that want gluten-free donuts and stuff like that, but we just make too many. It's just too much of a pain to even consider.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. What kind did you have, Greg? What kind?
One
Well, I
of
did take
each.
that back because one of my 3 was from Tecumseh, I have to say. So I had to test them out. I had a apple, and a powdered one with apple, which caused me to be covered in powder all day.
Yeah.
And glazed one, can't recall what was in the glazed. And then Lisa brought in some from Tecumseh, so I had to try one of those to compare.
Gotcha.
That was chocolate, which I gotta say I didn't love the chocolate.
Gotcha.
Okay, so now you just said you had to compare, so now you've got to give the answer, Greg. You're under the gun now. You better be careful with your answer.
Well, assuming we're not talking about New Palace Bakery, Morning Fresh took the prize this year for sure.
All right. Where's New Palace at?
Yeah, Tramick, man.
Oh, that's yeah.
Okay.
Different world up there when it comes to punchkis. So
All right, it's 6 o'clock. Do you want to give your speech, Greg?
Yes, let me permanently unmute. Good evening, everyone. I'm City Administrator Greg Elliott, and I'd like to address a few things before the mayor requests a roll call. This is a pre-meeting, which is a forum for City Commission to discuss various issues and topics. For much of the meeting, we ask the participants mute themselves to allow the commissioners to have their discussion and to minimize any background noise that may be disruptive. An opportunity for public comment will be provided at the end of the meeting, and participants will be invited at that time to unmute and address the commission if they wish. Talked in the past about Zoom bombing, where a virtual meeting is interrupted by people who fill the screen with objectionable content. If this occurs during our meeting tonight, we will disconnect the meeting and restart after a few minutes. Attendees can reconnect via the same link. We'll also turn over the video to law enforcement for investigation. Thank you all for participating, and Mayor, I'll turn the meeting over to you for the roll call.
Roll call, please, Robin.
Mayor Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Halt,
present.
Commissioner Roberts,
Present.
Commissioner Watson,
Present.
Commissioner Strayer,
Present.
Commissioner Gauss,
Present.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Present.
all commission members present.
At this time, I'll turn the meeting back over to you, Greg. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So our first topic for discussion tonight is the city's welcome sign or welcome signs. You'll recall we talked about this a little bit, I think at our last pre-meeting. And some further thoughts were had regarding the messaging on that sign. And so we included in your packet some mock-ups of what that could look like in various scenarios. I think Matt will be here. Matt is here also to discuss what he's found in relation to the practicalities of getting it built so far, but we don't have a ton of information on that so far. So tonight's discussion is intended to focus mainly on the messaging. So with that, I would open it up for discussion. Thoughts anyone had on the mock-ups that we included in the packet.
I just have some very brief thoughts on the matter. We're doing a full brand new sign. Do we need to stick with that shape? Are we thinking bigger in terms of if we have a blank slate? If it's just a repair, I understand why we're maintaining the shape, wrapping, putting a decal on it or whatever. But if we're going new sign, let's make sure we consider different shapes and sizes. I'm concerned on the on putting schools on there now, as it seems that, and rightfully so, that are we going to capture everybody who's part of our city? And where do we draw the lines on that matter?
I agree with Brad on that too. I'm getting more concerned that, like including everybody and making sure everybody's on there. And quite honestly, I really just liked the the easy to read and the cleanliness of, you know, the Welcome to Adrian, the Maple City one. That one really caught my eye. It just had a clean line and a clean look. If we're going to stay with that shape, I still feel like we could include the schools, but maybe off to the sides. There's a lot of room on those sides where those volunteer organizations are. Maybe they have, it's just a thought, they have a different shape, the schools do. Maybe they're rectangular and they're at the top on each side. If we are going to stay with that exact design is what I'm saying. But because I was thinking maybe, you know, we can still include them, but maybe put them off to the side. If I just get worried, it's starting to look cumbersome when we have that many on there. And like, you know, I know Greg, you and I have talked, and you know, a part of our area goes to Madison schools. And so then that's not on there. And so we're running into that as well. And so, and then that just becomes another school to put on there. And it already, to me, at least, it just looks a little cluttered. It looks not as clean and as easy to read because you're going by very quickly. So it's not like you can sit there and really read those as you drive by if it starts to get cluttered. So it's just, that's just my on it.
I agree with the mayor. The cleaner look is just to say, welcome to Adrian, the Maple City. I'm not sure about changing, you know, the shape of the sign. I noticed, I drove by the one on M52 this morning, and of course it's got that brick structure that surrounds kind of the frame for the sign. And I don't know, I mean, it takes some work probably to figure out a different shape of the sign that would fit into the frame that's, you know, it's kind of a permanent structure.
Let me jump in here and say that I agree with the simpler, the better. I really do prefer the Maple City, but let me also muddy the waters a little bit. And the mayor mentioned all of the space on the sides. I think it might be kind of cool to mention the Adrian Symphony Orchestra, the Croswell, the Adrian Center for the Arts. Just a thought. I mean, those are things that the city is known for or famous for, so to speak.
I like to give including those and those medallions on the sides.
Yeah.
Just talking the main sign, and in terms of the signage and the shape, again, if we're redoing the whole structure, there's designers out there that understand what can fit in that space and what can't. Let's just touch base with them. And the sign companies have them on staff, so it's not a big stretch of coming up with those ideas, and they can superimpose them in all those things so we can see what they look like. That's my position on that. If it stays the shape that it is, fine.
I guess my opinion is pretty easy. It's simple as that, you know, one of those things with signs is, especially two signs that are entrance to our city, I think that they should be, you know, clean and crisp. And when it comes to schools, I just want to have a conversation about it, because I know we had some different opinions on if we should put the colleges, you know, the public schools on there, which ones, because we got three essentially that are in the city, or at least our residents are in those districts. So, but I just don't, a sign needs to be, it's the entrance to our city. I think that Lad hits a good point when it, you know, like, what do we have to offer when it comes to entertainment value? Like what will draw people to the city? And it's one of those things where signs, I'm big on signs and lighting, and it's not one of those things we should nickel and dime. So if it's something that, you know, we can all agree on, make it crisp and clean, but also add those components to the side, whether it be the schools, the local public schools, or like the Croswell or the Adrian Symphony and stuff like that. So, but I just don't want us to nickel and dime this, because I think it's very important. Signage is huge when it comes to marketing your city. That was the only thing I wanted to have a conversation about with my colleagues and see what you guys thought about it. But again, I like the crisp, clean look too, and that's just my opinion. So
I think the Maple City is probably a better choice in my opinion, as Maple Pride, I think, is something that is utilized by Adrian Public Schools often. So if we're going to not have a bias on it, I think we need to lose Maple Pride and make it the Maple City. Otherwise was a Maple, and I appreciate Maple Pride, but I think that I really like the one that says the Maple City. And I think that adding all those things that our community has that are special, the arts, everything would be awesome to add on the sides, including the schools. I agree with all that.
Okay, so I think I'm last to chime in, and for the most part, I agree with what everyone said. Brad, I'm not opposed to taking a look at a different design, but I do like the current layout shape of the current sign. So, but you know, there might be something else out there that we like, but do we really want to take the time and possible costs to look at other options? Maybe, yeah. I mean, if that's something that would be easy to do, that would be great. I had mentioned to Greg right away, right after our last meeting, that I would take the colleges off. I don't think that they're needed on there. The Maple City is fine, but even for me, I wouldn't have that. I would just have welcome to Adrian and our established date. And if I'm not mistaken, I know at least Sienna Heights currently has their seal off to the side. I gotta believe Adrian College probably, oh Lord, my cat's coming up, is probably has one of those things to the side. And any organization can have one of the circles, whatever we call them. And it's just up to them to, maybe it's up to us to reach out to them and say, hey, we're updating our sign. It'll cost you $250 to create a seal or a pendant, whatever they're referred to as. And if you'd like to be a part of our signs, you know, please send us your information by a certain date. And then we can include any organization or you know, nonprofit that is interested. My 2 cents.
Matt, can you give us kind of an update on, you know, options for construction of the sign, what you've learned so far? Comment on the shape question that Commissioner Watson raised.
Absolutely. So we have reached out to about 6 or 7 different sign companies now. We've received 3 quotes as of today. We should be getting a couple more by the end of the week. One of the quotes was from a local business, Next Step, and he pretty much gave us everything we asked for: an aluminum sign with a vinyl front, exactly what you guys recommended last time. The other companies are giving us aluminum cabinets, so they have some depth to it. And I think Brad was copied on one of the proposals, and it was near $12,000. Oh, it was over $12,000. Another one was $34,000. So that goes to show you the difference between adding any depth to it or just a flat metal sign. Also on the quote that we got back, that was for just a flat aluminum sign. They said lead time was 3 to 5 weeks on that alone. So we're looking, it's going to be a couple weeks, and we're still for quotes. I mean, we've been waiting for a month and a half on quotes from some companies as well. So I'm thinking we're going to be waiting a long time for these. We just want to make sure that it's exactly what you guys want moving forward.
So Matt, if we did do the flat, can we change the design? Does anything even work in there for that to be done then? Or do we need to stay with what we have?
Quite honestly, I think it might look awkward to make it flat with the rounded bottom of the structure underneath. We certainly could do it. I think it'll look out of place if we change the shape of the sign from what it is now. Unless we do just a circle, like the 223 one is. But our intention was to make the 223 one how the 52 street sign is now.
Is there any other discussion on this?
Yeah, I've got a question for Matt. Is the current sign fiberglass? Is that?
Yeah,
Correct.
it was fiberglass with wood on the inside, and the wood on the inside is what deteriorated, allowing the fiberglass to start cracking and failing.
Will the aluminum, like a flat sheet of aluminum, I mean, do we have to worry about tin canning or denting or that kind of stuff? I mean, is it going to be I don't know what gauge the aluminum is, I guess is the question.
Sure. So we actually, the 223 sign is aluminum. It's exactly what we asked for. It's aluminum sign with a painted front. What we're looking to do an aluminum sign with a vinyl stickered front with laminate over the top of that, so it'll preserve it a little bit better.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So Matt, did you say that the bid that you received from the local company that was exactly what we were looking for was $12,000?
No, it was 40. Let me think. $4,700 a piece for each sign.
Oh, okay. Well, so therein lies the issue a little bit, because, you know, that doesn't necessarily have to come back to the commission. And so if you're going to want to have further discussion or further thought on this, you know, staff should know so that we can bring it back to you, because you know,
I would like to have further discussion on this next time.
Okay. So would you like us to bring the bids back to you when
Yes.
we receive them? And okay.
What, I guess, Commissioner Castleberry, what do you want further discussion on? Is it what's on the sign, or the overall cost, like what the $12,000 to $34,000 bids look like? What are we
I want to
looking
know what it's going to look like and what the cost is.
for? Which one? Because we have a cost and we pretty much have what it looks like if we're all agreement to the cleaner, crisper look.
I would just like to see that before it's a go, to make sure.
Okay, so do we want to keep the one that we have, that I'm looking at right now, the Welcome to Adrian, the Maple City established 1825, or are we looking to change it? I guess, I think, to me, that's the main question today. And is there a reason why we can't decide on this today?
I agree. That was the one I liked.
That's what I like too, but Kelly, were you saying that you wanted to see it next meeting because of what might be on the sides? Or
I was hoping it was that one, and yeah, I wanted to know about, I was hoping someone would look into what would the cost of the signs on the side be, and can we get a cost of what the symbols on the side are?
Matt, do you have a sense of that? And are those medallions something we can make in our sign shop, or do we have to order those as well?
So quite honestly, I don't know that we usually pay for those. I think it's usually the clubs. But our sign shop is only, I guess, capable of making 1 or 2 colored signs. We can't really make signs with a whole bunch of different colors in the seal and whatnot. So that would be something that they would have to order, unless you guys think we should be paying for that.
I don't think we should be paying for it, but I think what we ought to do is source the medallions that might go up there, and then offer the service organizations and the nonprofits who may want to put their thing up there, saying, okay, if you want it, send us your logo, send us your whatever, and $250 or whatever whatever it is, and we could batch order those things so that there will be some uniformity to it. Anyway, that's my thinking. I don't think we should just agree to haphazardly let people just send us something to put up on the sign. I think, we want it to look neat and clean, I would think.
I think there's,
I would like.
I think there's definitely standards on the medallions, but I also don't want to hold up the main sign. If we're all in agreement that main sign should be that one design, let's get it moving, since the lead time is 4 to 6 to 8 weeks or something along those lines. So we can piece together the medallion order, or if you want a medallion, you go to this place. But the problem is we got limited medallion space too. So that's going to be a longer discussion than shouldn't hold up the 2 weeks, because there's going to be a lot of clubs possibly that want space, and maybe we've only got 8 spaces or 12 spaces up there. That's a big discussion to have, I think.
I don't disagree. I'm not saying hold it up. I'm just saying, you're right. We don't need to hold up the main sign, because medallions, if we've got room, they can be hung up anytime. That's down the road.
I do think that that it should be a source of community pride, though. I think it should be, like Alan had talked about marketing and talked about, that's one of the big things that you see in the community when you come into town. And I think that if we're gonna put the sign up, we should have at least something ready to roll out that says, do you want, look at our new sign here, what do you want for your emblem? So I just don't want the ball to be dropped on this. I want to make sure that we have it all together. I do think this is an important piece of our community.
Yeah, and Kelly can speak for herself. I think we're on the same page that it's so important. It's important to me, that sign. It's going to pop from the road, and we need to have, I think that Mary's also correct. And, if we all agree on the big sign, or Mary or Brad one said it, if we all agree on the big sign, let's get that moving. But it is important. It's one of those things where you don't go cheap on. It's a branding thing. It's a marketing thing. It's a welcome to our city. Here's what we have to offer kind of thing. So I understand all points. Again, this is I just don't want us to be cheap on it. Let's have something nice that pops from the road, and let's move on it.
It's the thing that when I came home from a 6-month deployment when I was in the military and I saw that sign, it was a huge exhale, right? I'm home. That's a huge piece of our community, being home, but also people coming into our community that are coming to watch a Siena Heights or an Adrian College football game or other sporting event. So I think there's a lot of reasons why we make sure that sign is important.
So what our plan is to contact all of the organizations that we have on there currently, and if we can still read them, and then we'll reach out to them first. And then if anyone else comes along, do you guys want to approve who goes on there? Because I don't want just anyone to go up there.
Well, is that our position, or are we starting from scratch in terms of admission on the new sign after they all come down?
I'll be honest, when we started this whole conversation, I just wanted it fixed because it was like this. I wanted it straight. I didn't even know we were getting a new sign, to be honest. I thought that we were talking about just fixing it, but because it was crooked. And it drove me crazy every time I drive by there. But
I don't even know if all the circles are active. All those organizations are active.
Are they? I didn't know that.
I don't know. I don't think they're all very active. So
they're not.
I'll go out there tomorrow. I'll go out tomorrow and take pictures and count signs and make lists. And I'll send everybody the note.
I have a picture somewhere. I can look, Gordon, because my daughter was home for the last time before she took a job in Nebraska. So I took a picture of her standing in front of the sign, crooked. So I actually have a picture of it, so I can look and send it on.
I agree with Brad. I think we ought to move on the centerpiece of the sign, because it is going to take a while, and this other discussion can happen later. I personally don't have a problem sort of as a commission saying, well, looking for a few historically prominent businesses and putting on the sign, not just opening it up to everybody and like you're, selling bricks, at a new sidewalk or something, but I think we should get moving on the center part.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like everybody then is in agreement on Maple City, because that is what we are, the Maple City. Yes, it sounded that way. Okay.
But I really do think we have to be ready to, I don't think it should be businesses. I think we should be asking nonprofits, people that give back to our city. Those are the people that I think should be on the circles. And I think we should be ready to discuss or have something within those organizations when that sign rolls out, so that they know, and that's a source of pride for our community. And that's what people see when they come in. I do think that's important. So I hope that we can, I'm all for getting the sign up and going, but I just think that we need to have that ready too, because if we have a brand new sign and circles that you can't even read or see, I think that it doesn't improve the look necessarily. We have a great thing in the middle, but the sides look terrible. That's ridiculous to me.
We were just told that we have 18 spots for smaller signs. So that's what it is right now.
If you take down all of those 18 smaller signs, do you just have a brick wall there? Is that what it would be? Are
The
those
si-
smaller
the signs are on a fence.
Yeah, I think it's fencing. It's on fencing.
Yeah, it's like a chain link fence on the sides.
Oh, we got a picture. Look at that. You don't need,
Hey,
okay.
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 I think we reach out to the 18 that are there first, and, you know, if there's open space afterwards, we go out to, you know, other places like the Croswell and ASO and, you know, Center for the Arts or whatever. That's, again, that's why I think.
Well, if there's no other discussion on that matter, I think we know enough to get going on the main task at hand, and there'll be an opportunity to talk about the medallions meeting in the future. We know more about the pricing. Anything else on that? Okay, hearing none. The second item on the pre-meeting tonight is mine. That's the offer we have on the additional land at the Marvin Farm. You'll recall we're under contract for the 102 acre parcel, which is the large parcel, for a price of $1.3 million. And we've now been notified by Objective Growth that they're ready to close. They've given us a date of on or before March 15th for that piece. However, they've made an offer to us, which is separate. It's not tied to the 102 acre parcel, for the remaining 54 acres to acquire that for a price of $500,000 is what the offer is. And I have that on your regular meeting agenda for action tonight because it expires on Wednesday. But as is our custom, I wanted to have a chance to discuss it here at the pre-meeting first. You know, I talked to Kristen about that price, and she feels, and I agree, that you have to look at their overall purchase in terms of evaluating the price. And the general principle is that as the number of acres the party is acquiring go up, the price per acre tends to go down. And so that's why we started out at one price when they were going to buy 20 acres, and we moved to another price when they were going to buy 100 acres, 102 acres. So if you look at their total purchase, that's 156 acres for $1.8 million. By contrast, so that works out to a price per acre of about $11,500 per acre, a little more than that. By contrast, we sold the property on the other side of Beecher, south side of Beecher, for I believe 10,000 an acre over there. So we are north of that number. Also, by way of comparison, we bought the property back in, I think it was 2003, for approximately $1,250,000. So we are making a profit on its sale, but our point isn't, and never was, I don't think, to make money on land sales. Our point is to generate tax base through new development. And we have a party here who's interested in essentially developing a sort of a business park out there, building the infrastructure, roads and utilities that are necessary to do that. So we don't have to do like Tecumseh has, for example, and put it, front the expense of all that, and then be trying to sell off parcels one by one in our business park. Here we have somebody who's willing to take this land and turn it into a business park. So I feel like it's an attractive offer, and it's nice to tie it up all in one package, but I'll open that up for discussion.
I'll say that I'm very excited about it, and I'm very much a go.
I'm in favor of it.
I love the idea of not owning land as the city. We should not be in the business of owning land. Is it the best price we could ever get? I don't know. But we have someone who's willing to put in the funds and willing to put in the infrastructure, and it's not going to cost us anything. It's actually going to generate revenue for us quickly, probably. And I think it's a good idea, good contract.
I like to, Greg, that you did include what the south side of Beecher went for per acre. I know you and I had talked, I was a tad concerned, was this a good price? And we had talked, and you told me that the south side of Beecher went for less per acre. That gave me a lot of confidence in, and I really don't want to be in the business of owning property either. I'd love to get rid of everything on North 52 as well. So like, I think that this is great, especially I had a lot more ease of mind knowing that we're even getting more out of this than we were, for the south side. And I just love the idea that they're willing to put that infrastructure in and put a business park, in there. And let's see more growth, more jobs for our area. That's amazing too.
How long has the property been, when we buy that? Do you have that information?
2003.
Okay. So I know you made a comment of, we're not in the business of making a profit on land, but when we can, it's nice, so I'm with agreement. Again, it's one of those things where, Commissioner Roberts said it perfectly, is like, any land we could dump and then redevelop is a benefit to the city. To grow our tax base, but also the infrastructure is going to be put on it. Like Flourish bought it for $10,000 an acre, but look at how many millions of dollars they invested in the infrastructure. That's where you get the tax revenue that goes right into our general fund. So I'm excited about it. Like Lad said, it's one of those things where when people talk about marijuana to be in public, I make it very clear to them, what we are doing as a city commission, that to bring in the jobs, to bring in the excise tax revenue, and to sell the property and put it back in the tax roll. So very excited about it. I'm on board. So
I'm good to go. I'm just want to see that first property tax check.
Well, the funny thing is that a little known fact that I discovered when I started working on the budget this year, that we do pay property. It is on the tax roll. Because we rent it out to a farmer, we have to pay taxes on it. Not as much. So we get probably less rent than we pay out in taxes. And of course, we don't keep the bulk of the taxes, property taxes that we pay. So we're currently in business to lose money on that property. So
wait. So the city pays taxes on the farmland that we lease?
Yes. If you're engaging in a private for-profit activity on the property, then you have to pay taxes like everybody else. And so when we rent out the farm, now there are other reasons to rent out vacant land to farmers. I used to do that when I was in development, and it keeps it from, becoming unusable through becoming wetlands and things like that. But it keeps it leveled and free from obstructions. But we're not making money on it by running it out that way.
So what's the total, if the commission does opt to go this way, so what's the total on the whole parcel, like 1.8?
1.8.
1.8, okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else on that, it's on your regular meeting agenda tonight. And see that we still have 25 minutes left. Matt is very excited because he's failed to be able to talk about Miles Drive for the last 2 pre-meetings, but tonight's his lucky night. And next up is further discussion on the condition and options for Miles Drive. Keeping in mind, however, that the sewer that we're going to use to serve the the Marvin Farm property that we've just been discussing comes from Madison Township. That's Madison Township sewer out there. Goes to our treatment plant, but it's their sewer infrastructure. With that, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So last time we had talked, you guys had asked if Madison Township was willing to help pay for the majority of the project on Miles Drive. Reached out to their supervisor out there, and they are not willing to help at all. I said, can you guys do anything? And he said, absolutely not. We don't charge you guys for driving on our roads in Madison Township, so we're not willing to help. We'll get an attorney if you guys charge us for it. That's pretty much how it went down. So we did reach out back to Sterling Estates, who had already expressed interest in helping. They said their max dollar is $35,000. We actually did get bids back last week. The whole project should run about 140. I told you guys about 180 originally, but we're down to 140 since we bid it with a whole bunch of other projects. We're still waiting to hear back from a couple of the other businesses out there. So it looks like if we move forward, the most the city would have to pay is 105. If everyone agrees to pay a little bit, some out there, we might be down to about 80 grand. Want to get your thoughts on if you guys want to proceed with the project since we have some commitment, or if you guys would like to block it off and go that route.
Hey, Matt, question. I know you've told us this before, but I forget. Is this just a resurfacing or are we going to rebuild the road?
It's actually a base stabilization. So we're going to grind down about 8 inches, inject some emulsion to strengthen the base underneath, and then resurface the top. So we're doing a little bit more than just a resurface. We're actually strengthening the base while we're out there.
There's a lot of big trucks do travel on that road. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
how long do you think that would last?
Base stabilize, you should usually get about 20, 25 years for the base. The surface, since there's a lot of trucks out there, you might get probably 15 or so years. And with the process that we're doing, we can always go back and just mill the top surface and pave over it. So we're not getting into the expensive part of the base. Our job is to protect the base. So if we can go out there and spend $50,000 on the top rather than digging down into the base, then we're going to be that much better off in the end.
Okay, thank you.
Greg, can you expand on your comment that you just made? Like, how does that impact my feelings about Miles Drive?
My comment?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I would not want to necessarily get at cross purposes with the township since we're going to be doing something somewhat unusual with the development of the Marvin Farm property north of Beecher and actually extending township sewer into that property to serve that property as new public sewer. And, I think it's just good to keep a cooperative environment. It's always good, but particularly right now, we're going to be asking them to do something a little bit unique up there.
Matt, can you refresh my memory? Sorry, can you refresh my memory? I know it's Irvin, I know it's PPG, I know it's our own, it's Parks and Forestry are there, but I feel like was it Roto? Did they have access to Miles as well?
Yeah, Roto is right on the corner of Division and Miles. So they're that front business up front.
I didn't know if they had access to Miles. That's why I was asking.
Yep, they do. They've got 2
They have
driveways.
a big range there, and you said depending on what these businesses do. So is that, you said you're still in talks with some of them. So like where's the status of that is I guess what I'm asking.
So when we initially reached out to them a couple months ago, we told them a figure based on a matrix that we had created. And their figures were, for example, Roto Plastics was $15,000. Urban Industry was, I think, $25,000. And PPG was, I think, another $15,000. They all pretty much came back to us and said, like, no way we can afford that. So now we're going back to them asking, okay, like what's our top dollar? What can you guys give us? in order to get this job done. And we're still waiting to hear back from them. They kind of keep saying that they need to talk to their higher ups. So that's kind of where we're at. So I think if they can at least all get us another $5,000 a piece, that'll drag us down to 90,000 right there. So, and I think $5,000 is a lot more more easy to get their hands on than $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 that we initially asked for.
And I guess my other question is, you know, I know we had talked at one point about, you know, is there a way to not give access to Sterling Estates? But if we did that, then we lose out on 35,000, and aren't we going to have to do this no matter what anyways? Like, that's where I've also been really debating that in my mind. Like, we're going to have to do this eventually anyways. I'd rather do it with a little more help from somebody else. And are their cars, even though they have a lot more volume, are their cars doing the damage the trucks are? I guess these are all some of the questions I've been milling around as I'm analyzing this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think if we are able to get at least a portion of the project paid for, I think that's a huge start for us. Like you said, no matter if we block it off there and we don't accept any money from anyone, we still have to get the project done at some point soon. So in my mind, it makes sense to accept any handout that we can at this point.
But I feel like the fire chief said something too, there was a safety issue with not, because there would only be one entrance in and out of Sterling Estates. Is that correct? If you closed Miles Drive?
They're required to have 2 ways in based on the number of units that they have. Now, that part of the project's not in the city, so it's not really, you know, our requirement to enforce. But
So they would have to build something else out to get out. Is that correct?
Yes.
that would be the implication. Yes.
And what would that cost them to build something else to get out if we closed that?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know where the nearest road they could get out from is.
Somebody told me
Probably.
they had sort of an emergency outlet to Treat Highway. I don't know.
That's what I was wondering.
But again, I think that's not our concern. And I guess from where I am now compared to what I was when I first got elected, my first term is that, you know, again, I didn't want to put walls up around Adrian and say, hey, we're worried about Adrian. We want the collaborative and cooperation. But when I said in the meeting about the hotel from the McLarens, you know, and the tap fee issue, and I don't even know where we landed on that, but I was very disturbed by just the attitude of the township trustees in regards to the city. Now we can play joust back and forth like we need their sewer, but you know, and you know, and this and that, but you know, I don't know. I always view collaboration as a two-way street, and sitting in that meeting opened my eyes up to what some of the surrounding township thinks about the city, and so again, it's one of those things where we had a chambers full of people mad at us for that road, and you know, I remember former Mayor Jacobson told them to go to their trustee meeting and tell their township trustees about it, you know, and so I have a hard time bending with this, you know, because based on that meeting in the township, so I'm interested to hear how this conversation goes, but I have a hard time just paying for the road, even $100,000 from the city coffers for it.
I think if they have to pay for another outlet, somebody's going to have to pay for an outlet. Like, what is the cost of that outlet?
The township has to.
So what is the cost of their outlet if we close that road, and what does that look like for them?
Well, they're playing politics, Kelly, and they're telling us that, you know, that's what they're doing.
I assume they would say the developer would have to do that, and I imagine Sterling Estates has valued that at about $35,000, which is why they're willing to give us that.
Though I'm sure that there is the road out has to have some requirements for safety, and I don't know if 35,000 would cover that based on what we're about to pay to fix Miles Drive. So.
And Matt, going back to I'm going to go back to it, but going back to the businesses. So they just said absolutely not, but what makes you think 5, you think they'd even do 5 or where it's at? The reason I'm asking you this is I know the higher ups at both Rhoda and Irving, and they've both reached out to me recently and said they want to talk to me in the near future. So I knew this is what it was about. They never told me what it was. They were waiting to see what they heard back from you. But I mean, I'm just kind of curious. They haven't said anything to me, but they have reached out. So I don't know anybody at PBG, but I know there's concern on that, but I also think if they're using it, they need to be contributing. And I'm not sure like how, how do you know they'll even say 5,000, but they need to do something. And so I guess that's where I'm at. And I know your matrix, like I understood that. And their trucks are the ones doing the most damage. Like I would think their trucks are doing a lot more damage than our parks and forestry trucks are doing. And so I just want to make sure that everyone is contributing. So even going back to that discussion.
Yeah, and I mean, I have no guarantee that they're willing to do 5. I mean, when we do a special assessment for our residents, the average cost is probably about $3,500. This is a commercial business with a lot more frontage on our streets. So I think 5 is not a far fetch for a commercial business with all that frontage. So I guess that's kind of what I was going off of, and for the fact that they used our roads a little more heavy than our residential vehicles do. I just feel like they should pay a little bit more.
Mhm.
Again, I'm just hoping that they'll chip in for something.
I can't go to the businesses that much on these. I assume some minimal amounts, but the load on this matter isn't their problem. The load on this is it's a bargaining piece all of a sudden, and we've got this thing hostage, and as well as the property out on Beecher Street. So I agree, collaboration. I agree with Commissioner Helt as well. It takes two to collaborate. We can't just give constantly on these matters, and for them to twist on that hotel sewer tap is absolutely infuriating. So yeah, I'll do that road. I'll do that whole road. Give me a reasonable tap fee for this huge development that we want to go into the city that will process their sewer for, even though it goes through their pipes for a hot second. Like, all right, I mean, we can play chess together.
They did ultimately make a deal with McLaren on the tap fees for the hotel. There were a number of discussions that we had about that, and they ended up, they have an adopted fee schedule, which was the actual problem. It assigns a certain number of RUs per use, and we were able to get them to look at the actual usage projected for the hotel and use that instead. So there was some compromise there.
I just want to be transparent, like Commissioner Watson said about, not only the farm property to objective growth, but also the McLaren bought 10 acres of that they're planning to develop in the future. I just don't want our businesses being hindered in the future. And I don't know how we do that, how we get around that, but I want to make sure that development in the city also continues at a fair price, and us not getting, in the long run. Again, collaboration is a two-way street. The city being the county seat, they think that we're the ones that have the money, but even if we are doing okay, which we are, we still need to be smart about it, and that meeting didn't sit well with me, and Commissioner Strayer and I both were at it, and again, it's just the mindset of what they think about the city was very eye-opening to me. So again, but I get your point, Greg, about the collaboration, and again, it's just I just want, in the future, I don't want development hindered based on politics. I don't want that. So because I wasn't here in the 80s when they were fighting. I wasn't. I was a young kid in school. So it's like, we want to change that mindset and that attitude. So
For sure, but negotiating costs is definitely a part of that. That's good business.
No doubt.
As well as collaboration.
I'll chime in. So when we do a SAD for residents, they don't get a say in what we charge them. And are we allowed to do a special assessment district that includes just businesses, which I believe we are? Why are we allowing them to have a say in how much they are charged and what they owe us?
So when you do a special assessment district, there's you establish, there's two public hearings associated with it, one on the necessity, which everybody would agree this is a necessity. And then your second one is related to the role, the special assessment role, which is the amount you're going to spread over the parcels according to the benefit to those parcels. And so that's how you do it. You know, there's an opportunity for anybody who's assessed to object at that point and appeal. But if they don't, then they get the amount that you've prescribed. And you know, if we're in fact funding the project ourselves, so when you bond those kind of projects, there's a risk in doing that, because once somebody objects to it, you can't rely on that assessment to secure your bonds anymore. But if you're funding the project yourself, you don't really have that same risk. You can proceed with the work, fight the assessment out in the appeal process, which goes to tax tribunal, and as long as you prevail, you're going to collect your money at the end.
Do we think at all that it's a matter of timing? Maybe 2020 was just a bad year for these businesses. And if we had come to them 2, 3, 5 years ago when business was booming, they wouldn't bat an eye at paying that $15,000 to $25,000. I'm just curious. I don't know how to determine if that's the reason why they're an absolute no at that price, because that sure doesn't seem like a lot to cover for a brand new road for their trucks.
Well, I guess if I was, again, this isn't curbs and gutters. If the city wanted to charge, or if Matt asked me, my south store is in the city, my north store is in the township. If Matt asked me to chip in on the road, not curb and gutter, it's going to improve my property, I'd tell Matt, hey, Matt, respectfully, I like you, but you're a good customer here, but I'm not paying you. That's what my taxes goes for. So that's what I would say. You know, but curb and gutter improves the property. So that's why the special assessment's put in place. But the road that goes down, I'm not paying for that. That's what our taxes pays for. But I'm sure that's their mindset, Mary, with that. I could be wrong, but I appreciate Matt for trying, but that's how I would view that as a business owner. But again, that's just my thought on that.
Mm-hmm. And I go back to this whole thing that, you know, Sterling Estates is Madison Township, but so is Irvin. Those are Madison Township. Like over half that road, I mean, when you really look at who's there, is Madison Township. Like, why can't this be half and half? Like, I really feel strongly about that, okay, well, we have some that are City of Adrian. I know it's a city road, but it's servicing a lot of Madison Township, and this should be, you know, and when you look at the volume and even the trucks, you know, some of those trucks are coming from Madison Township. When you're looking at that, I feel like this needs to be more of a split deal, in my opinion. I still a little bit in sticker shock. I do not want to pay $105,000 for that road that hardly anybody uses except Madison Township people. I mean, when you really look at it, like, I'm okay with doing, you know, let's put that 140 in half, then maybe that would make more sense. Because yes, we use it and some of our businesses use it, but I don't know. That's just my thought on it from looking at it. And, you know, I've driven out there quite a few times and looked at it and just kind of sat across and watched traffic coming in and out as well. And I just feel like there's got to be a way to not be held hostage when it comes to us working with Madison Township and to come to some kind of agreement on this road. It's a shared road when you really look at it. I know it's got a City of Adrian sign on it, but it's really, truly shared.
Yeah, that's the other problem with special assessment district is you can't assess the Madison Township properties. We don't have authority to assess them. And so if there are major users, though, Sterling Estates has stepped up. But if Irvin just says, no, $5,000, that's all we're willing to give, they're going to end up being a free rider if we proceed. And others get the assessment that they really should have gotten based on their use.
I guess in my last comments on this is that I guess you have a taxable property still in the States that generates tax revenue for the township. Why wouldn't Madison Township in good faith just want to chip in something instead of telling Matt, you know, we're not paying anything, we don't charge you driving on the roads? Well, our residents are in their township hall complaining about the roads that they drive on. So that's my position on it, is that And I remember, I think Chuck told them in that meeting that go talk to your supervisor and your trustees, you know, and so I'm really struggling with this, and maybe it's just because I'm hard headed, but I don't know.
Are the businesses that are on that road complaining about the condition of the road, or is it all the people from Sterling Estates?
It's not all of them. We get complaints from the businesses too, just more from Sterling Estates than anyone else, obviously.
I get why they'd be mad. I drove it. I'm like, it's awful.
It's terrible.
Awful. But again, it's a kind of an industrial drive. We got other roads in the city that are driven a lot more that our residents drive on every day that generate tax revenue for the city. So.
But we go back to, it's our road. And it's our responsibility to upkeep our roads. And just because Madison residents and Madison businesses use our roads, that I hear what you're saying, but it still belongs to us. And I don't want to get into a tit for tat with Madison Township on roads, that's for sure, or anything else on infrastructure. I think it's something that Matt or Greg or someone should reach out to Madison Township and tell them all of our concerns and go, look, we're going to do this road and here's why, but here's all of the commission concerns, and we really need to play well as you use one of Commissioner Watson's favorite saying, in the same sandbox. So if we're going to play well in the sandbox, we're going to do this for you this time, but we want to make sure that this is recognized as something we don't have to do, but we aren't going to push back at you on this project.
I hate to see the Beecher Street project have issues because of this issue.
Well, I would just be, I would anticipate that we're going to have similar negotiations about what the tap fees are going to be.
I mean, if they don't want to dump a $1.8 million project, or that's the land, well, if they don't want to have revenue coming in to dump stormwater from that project, I mean, if I lived on Low Street, I know it's scheduled to get done, right? If I lived on Low Street and I'm watching this meeting, I see that we're going to repair that road before Low Street because residents that don't even live in the city that pay tax to the city, I'd have a problem with that. But again, I don't live on Low Street, but hypothetically, if I did, I'd have an issue with that because it's not even scheduled. So we're asking to take money, and Matt, you can correct me wrong, you don't have any money budgeted for this, right? Right. All right, you're on mute. Yep.
Yeah, not budgeted, but we have some money in preventative maintenance that we were going to use to get the street done.
Well, I think that I agree with Commissioner Roberts. We need to do the road. We need to fix it. I don't like being held hostage. I don't think Madison Township and their trustees have a whole lot of respect for the city of Adrian. And I think they'll take advantage of us at any time that they have the opportunity. That being said, we do the road now. Somewhere down the road, they don't want to play nice with us. We can always block off the road later.
Valid statement.
Good point.
Is that legal though? Because they need an outlet? Is it a timeline? I feel like that's not illegal. I feel like that might be illegal.
Well, no, it's a life safety issue that our fire chief brought up, but it's Madison Township's problem, the way I understand it. If they don't have 2 ways in and 2 ways out, they got to go find another way out.
Yeah, Tamara's correct me if I'm wrong, though. I think that it's like evicting someone, right? You can't just say, you know what, you didn't help us on Beecher Street, so now we're going to close this road and you can't use it anymore. Because
I
that,
will look into all that, Commissioner Castleberry, only because we have 1 minute left for public comment. Mayor Heath, so I didn't want us to miss that opportunity before the new meeting. I will look into that, though, and get back to the commission, Commissioner Castleberry.
And that's what I was going to ask. You knew we didn't have much time. I would like if we can find out some of these answers and come back. Can we have another pre-meeting discussion at the next meeting on this and continue on with this, please? And Matt, maybe in the meantime, if you can find out, like, you know, even if that 5,000 with those businesses, you know, at least so we have a better idea what we're looking at.
Yep, working on it.
Thank you. Are you okay, Greg, with me going
Yeah,
ahead?
we're all set. If you want to
Okay,
invite
thank you.
public comment.
At this time, if there is any public comment, please state your name and address.
Ken Tokars, 110 South Locust. I want to thank you guys for reconsidering the front sign. Bob Banky gave you the logo for Adrian Schools. I'll send Mayor Heath a check for that, so that'll take care of that one. The other thing I think you need to consider with that sign is you're going from green and earth tones, and now you're going to blues and whites. It's going to look a lot different. I think you need to also consider with the medallions, possibly going just blue and white on the medallions, so there's some consistency. I wish you would take a stand with Madison Township. I mean, you provide mutual aid for them. You know, they would have to spend a lot more on their fire department if we didn't provide them with mutual aid. Another thing that could be added would be a easy pass or a gate, and basically we could charge the Madison residents a fee to use that gate, and if they break it, then they just also pay the maintenance fees. So that would be one way of putting that on there. The last thing is my understanding of townships. If a subdivision, I think this just happened recently north of town, the subdivision had to get together and vote that they wanted to have their roads updated. And then the township created an assessment. So I'm not sure why the residents who live in Sterling Estates could vote that, hey, they want to get the road paved, and then they would just have to pay more. Thank you.
Hearing no more public comment, may I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn, Strayer.
Support, Gauss.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned and we will begin our regular meeting right away. Is that okay with everyone, or do you need to take a restroom break? 5 minutes? 5 minutes. We'll take a 5-minute break. We'll be right back. Thanks, everyone. For those that were just joining, we're starting a little late. Our pre-meeting ran over. I'm waiting for everybody to get on from the commission and our city administrator, and then we will begin. All right, it looks like everyone is here. Our city administrator, Greg Elliott, will now begin his Zoom speech before we begin the actual meeting. Thank you.
Evening, everyone. I'm City Administrator Greg Elliott. It's 7:06, and I'd like to address a few things before Mayor Heath officially calls us to order. For much of the meeting, we asked that participants other than commissioners and staff mute themselves to allow the commission to have their discussions and conduct their business. That will also help to minimize any background noise that may be disruptive. Opportunities for public comment will be offered at different points throughout the meeting. At those times, participants can unmute themselves and have an opportunity to address the commission. The 3-minute rule will be in effect for public comment. When it is your time for public comment, please identify your name and address for the record prior to making your statement. Once we formally begin the meeting, the format and structure will be the exact same as it is for an in-person meeting. We will work through our agenda as usual. All commission rules and procedures remain in effect. We've talked in the past about Zoom bombing, where a virtual meeting is interrupted by people who fill the screen with objectionable content. If this occurs during the meeting tonight, we will disconnect the meeting and restart after a few minutes. Attendees can reconnect via the same link. We'll also turn over the video of the meeting to law enforcement for investigation. Our agenda packet is available on our website. That's www.adriancity.com. Thank you all for participating tonight. And Mayor Heath, I'll turn it over to you.
I now call to order the Adrian City Commission regular meeting for March 1st, 2021. If everyone would please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Robin, roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Held,
Present.
Commissioner Roberts,
Present.
Commissioner Watson,
Present.
Commissioner Strayer,
You're muted.
Commissioner Gauss,
Present.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Present.
all commission members present.
May I get a motion to approve the minutes of the February 15th, 2021 regular meeting?
Move to approve, Watson.
Support Roberts.
I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts, from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Held,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath.
Yes.
Minutes approved by unanimous vote.
May I get a motion to pay the vouchers as presented?
I move we pay the vouchers as presented. Helt.
Support. Castleberry.
I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Castleberry. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt.
Yes.
Vouchers are approved by unanimous vote.
Under communications, C1 Finance, we have the January revenue and expenditure report. Are there any questions or comments on that, commissioners? Moving on to the regular agenda. Resolution R21-024 is from the City Commission. It is a resolution to reappoint Andreas Bernards to the Human Relations Commission. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution, Gauss.
Support, help.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I would just like to make one comment that Andrea has been on this commission, I think, from the very beginning, and still is always willing to serve and give to this group. And I was very excited that she is willing to continue serving the HRC and our city. Thank you. I have a motion from Commissioner Gauss with a second from Commissioner Halt. Roll call, please.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Halt,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R21-025 is from the City Commission. It is a resolution to reappoint Lindsay Patton to the Human Relations Commission. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution, Gauss.
Support,
Support.
Strayer.
Rob, are you giving that to Roberts and Strayer?
No.
Mary said no, so I'll give it to Strayer.
Thank you. There we go. Okay. Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? We have a motion from Commissioner Gauss with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Halt,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Watson.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R21-026 is from Parks and Engineering. It is a resolution to award a bid for the purchase of a used roller for street construction. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution, Watson.
Support, Roberts.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Halt,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Strayer.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R21-027 is from Parks and Engineering. It is a resolution to award a bid for concrete crushing. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution, help.
Support, Roberts.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Halt,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R21-028 is from the city clerk. It is a resolution to approve the application for Herb for Life Incorporated for a medical marijuana permit for a provisioning center for 307 East Beecher Street, Adrian, Michigan. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution, Gauss.
Support, Strayer.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Gauss with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R21-029 is from administration. It is a resolution to approve a purchase agreement with Objective Growth LLC for the purchase of 54 acres on West Beecher in Adrian, Michigan. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution, Watson.
Support, Strayer.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R21-030 is from administration. It is a resolution to approve a revision to the City of Adrian holiday schedules and to approve letters of understanding with collective bargaining units to reflect the changes. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved. I move to adopt the resolution.
Support, Roberts.
Are there any public comments? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Castleberry with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R21-031 is from the city clerk. It is a resolution to approve the Lenawee County Election Coordinating Committee 2021 through 2024 agreement for the Madison Public School District and authorizes the city clerk to choose to opt out and to execute the agreement. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution. Help.
Support, Watson.
Is there any public comment? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Watson. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
Resolution R21-032 is from the city clerk. It is a resolution to approve the Lenawee County Election Coordinating Committee for 2021 through 2024 agreement for the Lenawee Intermediate School District and authorizes the city clerk to choose to opt in and to execute the agreement. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt. Roberts.
Support Strayer.
Is there any public comment? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Strayer,
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Hope,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Watson.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
The resolution R21-033 is from the city clerk. It is a resolution to approve the amended Lenawee County Election Coordinating Committee 2021 through 2024 agreement for the Adrian School District and authorizes the city clerk to execute the agreement. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution. Watson.
Support Strayer.
Is there any public comment? Are there any commissioner comments? I have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Strayer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Castleberry,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Mr. Hope,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Strayer.
Yes.
Resolution adopted by unanimous vote.
It is now time for public comment. Just to reiterate, there is a 3-minute time limit. And for the record, please state your name and address. Hearing no public comment, I'm going to move on. Are there any commissioner comments? I just want to thank everyone for being patient with my terrible voice from being sick and coaching too many teams over the weekend and losing my voice. So
Yeah, Mayor, could you read through the agenda one more time? I'm not sure I caught the beginning of it. I just,
funny, real funny. So thank you for your patience with my terrible voice. May I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support Watson.
I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Watson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.